Rachel and Kirsty felt themselves spinning and shrinking, and when they caught their breath, they were as tiny as Kathryn, with delicate gossamer wings fluttering from their shoulders. The three little fairies hugged each other. "I'm so glad to have you with me," said Kathryn. "I wouldn't have any idea how to get my badge back by myself." "Don't worry," said Rachel. If we all choose a place to hide on the obstacle course, I'm sure we'll see something that will give us a clue." "Good idea," said Kirsty. "I'll go under the net." "I'll hide in the netball basket," Rachel replied. "What about you, Kathryn?" "I'll slip behind one of the cones," said the fairy. "The first goblin has almost finished. I better hurry." She zoomed towards the first part of the obstacle course and landed behind a cone, making sure none of the pupils could see her. They were all watching the first goblin, who reached the end of the cones and tipped the beanbag off his head, laughing. Kathryn watched him run up to the second goblin and tag him. Both goblins bent down for a moment as if to check their trainers. But Kirsty could see what they were really doing. The second goblin tucked something golden into his trainer and then sprinted over to the netball challenge. "Was that my badge?" Kathryn wondered aloud. The second goblin threw the netball into the basket with ease, bent down to pull out his left trainer, and then tagged the first goblin. Watching from the basket, Rachel could see that he had passed a gold star-shaped badge to the first goblin. "Kathryn's badge!" she said with a gasp. With the badge tucked carefully inside one of his trainers, the first goblin easily did 20 skips. Kirsty was hiding under the low net, and she saw him pass the badge back to the second goblin. "That's cheating!" she exclaimed. She felt so annoyed that she forgot about hiding from the goblin, and he saw her as he dived under the finish line. "Fairies!" he squawked. At exactly the same moment, the school bell rang in the distance. "Thank you for the wonderful demonstration, boys," said Mr. Beaker. "Good luck tomorrow, everyone. Now hurry back to the classroom and get changed. It's time to go home." As Mr. Beaker and the other pupils hurried away, the goblin swiped at Kirsty with his long, bony fingers. She dodged his hand and zoomed away towards the muddy ditch where Adam's netball had gone earlier. "Come back!" squealed the goblin. He chased her, closely followed by Rachel and Kathryn. Kirsty flew as fast as she could, gasping for breath. If she could reach the ditch and fly over it, perhaps the goblin would run into it without looking. Kirsty flew over the ditch, but the goblin stopped on the edge. "I'm not getting my trainers dirty for a silly little fairy," he grumbled. Rachel and Kirsty darted up and hovered in front of him. "We know you've been hiding Kathryn's magical badge in your trainer," said Rachel. "Please give it back. It doesn't belong to you." Kirsty flew over to join Rachel and Kathryn. They were all feeling worried. They had to get the badge back soon, or tomorrow's PE lesson will be a disaster. Suddenly, Kirsty had an idea. She nudged her friends and then smiled at the goblin. "You are really good at the obstacle course," said Kirsty. "You must be a really talented athlete." Kathryn looked a bit confused, but Rachel instantly guessed what her best friend was trying to do. "I don't think he's that good," she said to Kirsty. "I bet he couldn't jump over this muddy ditch." Kirsty hid a smile. The ditch was much too big for anyone to jump. "Of course he could," she said. "Easy peasy." "Nope, I don't believe it," said Rachel, shaking her head and looking at the goblin. He laughed and puffed out his chest. "Of course I could jump a silly little ditch," he boasted. "I could do it with my eyes closed." "Prove it," said Kathryn. The goblin took a few steps back, then he squeezed his eyes shut and took a running leap and landed in the mud with an enormous splash. "Wah!" he yelled. With filthy water dripping down his face and clothes, he squelched out of the ditch, his trainers oozing mud. "That was your fault," he grumbled. "You put me off." "Perhaps you should take off those muddy shoes," Kirsty suggested. The three friends crossed their fingers. Would their plan work? Chapter 5, A Magical